Hey everyone, thanks for joining us through this mini series on leaky gut. So far in our previous videos we've talked about what leaky gut is, what are some of the common symptoms, what are some of the common causes, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how it's diagnosed. So Dr. Horsley, if you had a patient walk in and you suspected leaky gut for them, how might you diagnose that?
Yeah. And so for leaky gut, as with maybe several conditions, is a lot of it's based upon the symptoms that people present with. If you come in and you're talking about how you're having so much bloating and indigestion and you have some brain fog along with it, and I'm having a lot of just asthma and intolerance to smells, and I'm also getting this rash all over my body. I mean, if you walk like a duck and you talk like a duck and you sound like leaky gut, I'm probably going to start doing some of the treating for that. Because, of course, in our office, it's first do no harm. But now, maybe we really want to know specifically, do you have leaky gut, and have other more objective based tests, which there are several of those. So what different more objective based tests would you use to determine if someone has leaky gut?
As with a lot of diagnostic testing, there are three main ways in which we can do some objective tests, which means we do a sample and we send it out to the lab, and those are urine, stool, and blood. The traditional test for leaky gut syndrome has been a urine test where you measure something called lactulose and mannitose. And they're just they're sugars that shouldn't get into the urinary system unless your gut is leaking. So there are labs out there like Great Plains Laboratory that will do a urine test that we can order out from in order to see if these are present. The one we typically use the most, though, is a stool sample, where we use a lab called Genova. And that lab uses a functional stool sample where you collect stool samples over 3 days and you send everything in. You get about a 6-page report back that talks about gut bacteria, how your microbiome is doing, the good guys, the bad guys, the opportunistic guys. We look for infections, parasites, viruses, funguses, things like that. And it's a really comprehensive stool test, which is great. And then the last way, which is kind of on the forefront of research when it comes to diagnosing something like leaky gut, comes from the blood test, where the researchers are looking for antibody tests, or your immune cells that are eating the gut, causing that permeability to be present. So if we think back to our first videos, we talked about what leaky gut is. It's where the holes in the wall open up and the stuff starts slipping through that shouldn't. So if the immune system is eating some of those guards or protective guys on the border there, and they're not working right, now stuff is passing through, and that's one way people do it. The unfortunate part to these three tests, though, is they're typically expensive, and insurance doesn't always cover them, which is why, as Dr. Horsley said, we primarily start based off of what someone's symptoms are and use that as the primary rationale for treatment. So if someone comes in and walks like a duck and talks like a gut, like Dr. Horsley said, we will frequently begin treatment, and if we feel like treatment's not going in the direction we want, that's when additional testing like a urine test, a stool test, or the blood test may come into play. Unfortunately, though, like we said before, cost is the prohibitive factor for a lot of these objective tests.
Yeah.